All right, let's dive right into this explainer and finally unravel one of the absolute biggest maritime mysteries of the modern world. Today, we are getting the Bermuda Triangle finally explained. We're going to break down the hard facts, ditch the fiction, and see what the historical and scientific evidence actually tells us.
To kick off our investigation, we have to ask ourselves a pretty fundamental question. Does the Bermuda Triangle actually exist? I mean, do those wild supernatural stories of vanishing ships, alien abductions, and interdimensional time portals actually have any scientific merit? Or have we all just been completely captivated by a legendary illusion that got blown way out of proportion by pop culture?
Here's how we're going to break this down. First, the birth of a legend. Second, famous unsolved tragedies. Third, the ocean's natural hazards. Fourth, navigation and human error. And finally, number 5, the power of a myth.
But first things first, let's establish exactly where this infamous area actually sits. The Bermuda Triangle stretches across a massive region generally bounded by Miami, Florida, Bermuda up in the North Atlantic, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's a huge, expansive ocean, and as we're going to see in just a bit, an incredibly busy one.
Section 1. The birth of a legend. How a modern myth was made. You know, this legend actually developed entirely in the 20th century. It's not some ancient mariner's tale. Back in 1950, newspaper articles first started highlighting some unusual disappearances. Then, moving into the 1960s and 70s, best-selling authors began publishing these gripping books, collecting incidents of missing ships and aircraft. But here's the catch. When researchers actually went back and revisited the original records, they found that these authors often completely omitted crucial details, or they presented events in a highly dramatic way just to sell a compelling narrative. It perfectly illustrates how scattered, totally ordinary mid-century accidents were transformed by the media into this one single massive legendary phenomenon.
Section 2. Famous Unsolved Tragedies. The real losses behind the lore.
5. That is the number of U.S. Navy torpedo bombers, famously known as Flight 19, that vanished into thin air on December 5, 1945. They were on a routine training mission out of Fort Lauderdale, and the flight leader actually reported compass malfunctions, believing they were lost as the weather gradually worsened. Eventually, all contact was just gone. It sounds incredibly eerie, right? But later military investigations suggested that it was actually a mix of navigational errors, poor weather, extremely limited visibility, and eventually fuel exhaustion that likely caused the tragedy.
And what about that Martin PBM Mariner rescue aircraft that also vanished while it was out searching for Flight 19? Well, the evidence actually points to its known vulnerability to fuel vapor explosions, not some kind of supernatural force. In fact, witnesses reported seeing a massive explosion right around the time and place it vanished. So instead of a paranormal event, we're really looking at a tragic mechanical failure happening under incredibly unfortunate circumstances.
300. Over 300 crew members and passengers were lost when the massive USS Cyclops vanished in March 1918. It was carrying a heavy load of manganese ore from Brazil all the way to Baltimore, and it just disappeared without a single distress signal. To this day, it remains one of the largest non-combat losses in U.S. naval history. But we have to remember, this was 1918. Wartime communication was extremely limited. While the exact cause is still unknown, historians propose that structural failure from that heavy cargo, severe weather, or mechanical problems are highly plausible explanations.
Moving on to Section 3. The ocean's natural hazards, the real culprits of the deep.
When it comes to causes, you know pop culture absolutely loves to blame alien bases, the lost city of Atlantis, or even interdimensional time portals. Claims that, let's be honest, have absolutely zero scientific evidence. But when we look at the grounded science, we quickly eliminate those fictional suspects and find our real answers.
The truth is, this specific region is absolutely packed with combined environmental hazards that can easily overwhelm even the most experienced sailors and completely erase all physical evidence. First up, those warm tropical waters create unpredictable rapid storms and massive hurricanes that can just blow up with very little warning. Second, you have the Gulf Stream. This is one of Earth's strongest ocean currents, and it flows rapidly right through this area. If a ship sinks, this current acts like a high-speed conveyor belt, scattering debris over vast distances in just a matter of hours. And finally, the seabed here literally plunges into deep ocean trenches thousands of meters below the surface. So wreckage doesn't disappear into another dimension, it just gets hidden in extreme, practically unreachable depths.
Section 4. Navigation and human error. Getting lost before GPS. So have you ever heard that rumor that compasses just go totally crazy in the Bermuda Triangle? While it's constantly cited as this big supernatural mystery, the reality is just that Earth's magnetic field is not perfectly uniform. Magnetic north actually differs from true north depending on where you are geographically. Historically, navigators who are unfamiliar with these variations could easily get confused if they failed to account for those differences. It isn't magic, it's just a well-understood geophysics phenomenon. And extensive surveys have proven over and over that there is absolutely no evidence this region is magnetically unique compared to anywhere else in the world.
And statistically speaking, the accident rate in the Bermuda Triangle is completely normal. Think about it. When you consider that this area serves as one of the busiest shipping lanes and aviation corridors on the entire planet, occasional accidents are mathematically inevitable just due to the sheer volume of traffic. Thousands of ships and aircraft travel through here safely every single year without a hitch. As the data shows, the accident rate matches other heavy traffic regions perfectly. And that brings us to Section 5, the power of a myth. Why the legend refuses to sink.
If science and statistics explain all of this so well, why does the legend persist? Well, it all comes down to human psychology, specifically a little thing called confirmation bias. Once the idea of a mysterious, dangerous triangle was planted in popular culture, people just started squeezing every new, completely ordinary maritime accident into this mystery box. And at the exact same time, they completely overlooked the thousands of successful voyages and the totally straightforward scientific explanations for the crashes that did actually happen.
Honestly, the creation of this myth is a masterclass in storytelling. Step 1, the media creates a highly sensational narrative, simply because mysteries attract massive audiences. Step 2, ordinary scientific explanations, like a ship sinking in a sudden squall, are completely ignored because, let's face it, they're just not as exciting as alien abductions. And Step 3, every new accident just reinforces the myth. Once this legend became deeply embedded in our culture, that psychological feedback loop made it nearly impossible for the mundane truth to break through all the thrilling fiction.
So, our crucial takeaway for this explainer is that the Bermuda Triangle is not some paranormal anomaly where the laws of physics just break down. It is simply a very busy section of the Atlantic where severe weather, deep trenches, and navigational challenges occasionally and tragically collide. I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Is the real world remarkable enough for us without supernatural mysteries? Because honestly, understanding the complex, powerful, and scientifically proven realities of our immense oceans is far more fascinating and compelling than any fictional myth could ever be. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep your curiosity sharp and never stop seeking the truth.